The Overwatch League debuted their Homestand concept this past weekend in Dallas, giving everyone a taste for what next year could look like. Despite an early and unfortunate regional power outage on day one, the event should be deemed a success. Here are my 3 biggest takeaways from the weekend of action. Home court advantage exists. Big time. The Allen Event Center was boiling thanks to the energy from the 4,500 fans in attendance, with the Fuel vs Valiant game on opening day being particularly spectacular. Every Diva Bomb, every Earth Shatter in favor of Dallas received deafening cheers from the home crowd. That type of crowd engagement is something almost no Overwatch League pros have experienced before, and if we were to consult a body language doctor, he would likely come to the conclusion that the Fuel's opponents weren't exactly comfortable. Dallas's main tank star OG, who received Player of the Game honors against the Valiant, acknowledged as much in his post-game interview, noting that it felt really easy to ride the momentum straight to a 4-0 victory thanks to the fans. It's worth noting that Dallas was part of the inaugural season and has one of the largest fan bases in the league, so it might take some time for other homestands to build up to the excellent standards set by the Fuel. Even so, make no mistake about it, home court advantage exists and will be very meaningful next year. From what we witnessed this weekend, it will encapsulate far more than just inconvenient traveling schedules for the visiting teams. I mean, just listen to this.
Five-strike attempt from Faith. He's returned, but he's all alone in enemy territory. No home fans here in Texas for the Valiant, and the Dallas Fuel have done it. A 4-0 victory in their first home game.
Rivalries are awesome. Following the entire homestand weekend almost felt like watching a pay-per-view of a sports event, at least in terms of structure. The crowd enjoyed some great games and a nice atmosphere, with full knowledge that a main event would be looming at the tail end of the experience. The battle for Texas was elegantly scheduled as the last game of the weekend. The contest was constantly hyped up during the broadcast, and narratives surrounding the rivalry were spun aplenty. We even got a nice little intro clip before game time, and then the players took stage. Local rivalry isn't a unique concept in Overwatch League, but seeing it all unfold in front of a large crowd with emotions overflowing was something special, and it made the battle for a lead duel look pale in comparison. Even so, the event really highlighted how much more enjoyable games can be when there's more on the line than just a regular season win. The event did very well in building tension, and it appears the league will continue with a similar structure moving forward. In Stage 4, the Los Angeles Valiant's homestand is dubbed as Rivalry Weekend, as both game days will wrap up with juicy grudge matches. First, the Valiant will battle it out with the Gladiators on Saturday before running it back against the San Francisco Shock for California Cup bragging rights to close out the show on Sunday. As the league continues to grow, it's clear that it will be crucial to continue creating storylines and rivalries around teams beyond the local aspect. California Cup is a perfect example of the teams taking matters into their own hands and using the offseason to create a rivalry. But ultimately, the engagement and emotion will stem from these things being genuine. Either way, there is immense value in investing time to develop these narratives, so let's hope we see more of it moving forward. The Stage 2 playoffs are lining up to be incredible. With the homestand games over and done with, and the results in the books, we are heading back to LA with a very interesting last week ahead of us. The Stage 1 finals were incredible, and you can't ask for much more than a back-and-forth slugfest between the San Francisco Shock and the Vancouver Titans that goes the distance in a best-of-7 set. We were also fortunate enough to see the Seoul Dynasty open up the Stage 1 bracket with an upset over the undefeated New York Excelsior. However, beyond those 2 sets, the Stage 1 playoffs were mostly a dull affair, with the Shock and the Titans sweeping their way to the finals without much opposition. With only 7 games in a stage, the schedule determines a good chunk of the playoff bracket, especially when it comes to the lower seed, and it felt as though some deserving teams got the short end of the stick last time around. However, it does feel like we should get the 8 best teams this time around, or at least close to it. This, in turn, should give us a better shot at enjoying some terrific first-round matchups with a little more upset potential. The Los Angeles Gladiators climbed out of their hole and are now undefeated. The London Spitfires similarly turned their 3-4 Stage 1 performance into 5-1 and a map differential that rivals some of our big boys. The Seoul Dynasty, while faltering a little against the Valiant this weekend and struggling with a tough schedule, are also in a great spot to make it, assuming they can take care of business against the Hangzhou Spark. Dallas, while struggling against the very best teams, also bounced back nicely during the homestand and is all but guaranteed a spot assuming a win against Florida. With the shock on the menu for the last game, Philadelphia Fusion are all but out, while Boston also has a tall order in front of them and will need some help. Meanwhile, Shanghai, Chengdu, and Hangzhou, all teams with some zeal in them, will likely battle it out for the last spot. It appears as though, barring any major upsets, the Stage 2 playoffs should feature 6 teams representing the Pacific, the objectively stronger division, while Stage 1 had 5 Atlantic representatives, and there should obviously be a ton of interesting storylines to go along with the games. Can NYXL, who recently dropped a match to Atlanta and fell to the Dynasty in Stage 1 playoffs, make a run? Are the undefeated Gladiators for real? Has London improved enough to challenge the big dogs? Will Seoul's new starting lineup carry them further than the semifinalists this time around? Either way, despite the Shock's exceptional dominance this stage and Vancouver's continued nonchalant destruction, it's difficult to envision either team trucking through the bracket without dropping a map en route to a much anticipated rematch. These were my big takeaways after absorbing last week's action, and there's a lot to look forward to for all Overwatch League fans moving forward.